Hi, I'm Genevieve, and you're watching Tell Your Story. If you go to the Braintree Farmers Market, then you've probably come across the Lolly Cake Ladies. We spent the day in the kitchen and learned how to make these treats.
Hey guys, I'm Marielle from the Lolly Cake Ladies. How are you? Today we're going to show you how to make some lolly cakes. If you guys have come to the Braintree Farmers Market this year, you've seen some of the ice cream cake pops, which have been a huge hit. So I'm going to show you how to make them. Just to make things a little bit quicker, I actually made the cake beforehand. So to make the actual cake balls, all you have to do is bake a cake, let it cool, and then crumble it up, add some frosting so it actually forms a bit of a dough. Then what you want to do is take about a tablespoon and a half, scoop, and roll it like a meatball. Put it on a tray, let it chill in the fridge for like half hour, 40 minutes so it gets nice and firm, and then you're all set and we can get ready to decorate. That's the fun part. So some of the things that you're gonna need for cake pops, which all of you can make at home, it's not that hard. You want some candy wafers that you can buy at any kind of craft shop, you'll be good to go. I have some cake pop sticks, some forks to kind of stir around the chocolate, and then however you want to decorate it. So what we're going to do, we're going to get the white going because that's what the base of the ice cream cake pop is going to look like. So I'm going to pop it into the microwave, and I normally do it at like 30-second intervals. It's not too bad. You don't want to burn the chocolate. If you're burning the chocolate, it's not going to make a nice cake pop. Now I started doing this about 3 or 4 years ago, and it started as a fun thing that I just did for friends and family. But I started getting orders from people that I didn't even know, and that's when I thought, you know what, maybe this could be a thing. And so my very first year, I reached out to Donna at the Braintree Farmers Market, and I got in, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to my little business. All right, now you can see that it's pretty smooth, and there's no lumps. So that's really what we're looking for. And just a little, like that's perfect. You don't want it too thin or it's not gonna stick to the ball. And this is right where we need to be. All right, so now let's get dipping. We're gonna dip into the chocolate, grab a ball, and the balls don't have to be perfect, come on. They're just for fun. And we're gonna stick them. Now these are the chocolate Oreo, which I have found to be the most popular. You can kind of do whatever flavor you want, any kind of cake, any kind of frosting. You can really mix it up and make it, you know, some really fun and unique flavors. Okay, so what I like to do, almost create like a little well or a pool that you can just dip the lolly right into. Just gonna dip in, do 1 or 2 little turns, and then we're just gonna dip the excess off. So you want it to kind of run like that so you can see it. Now, because we're making the ice cream cake pops, we'll take our little cones, and you just wanna have a little hole at the end already so it slides right on. And we're just going to thread it in, and boom. That's the beginning of our ice cream cake pop. It's important, I think, if you have a small business to support other small businesses. You want to shop local, buy local, keep everything local. Try to do the best you can with that. It makes a big difference. And the Braintree Farmers Market, I think, is unique in the community that it has there. You know, I've been lucky enough to see the kids and the families, and it's so cute seeing them come at the beginning of the year, and you see how big the kids have gone, you see the families, and everyone's so excited to see you, and it's become a phenomenal thing for me, and I'm so lucky. Okay, so what we need to do for the next step is we're gonna add some chocolate topping with some sprinkles, but we need to let the chocolate harden for a little bit. So I think, you know, these are pretty unique. You're looking at them, they're a fun, cute thing. They're individual, that they're 1 or 2, 3 bites tops. They're great for any kind of event because you can customize them. And I think that's why they've really gotten popular in the last few years. And they're a little more fun. I mean, this is adorable. Who wouldn't love to eat that? And I think we're getting there. Okay. So the cake pops are kind of getting dry, so we should probably start with the other chocolate. Again, just like the white chocolate, this is dark chocolate. The wafers you can get at any different store, and we're gonna do them at the 30-second intervals again. So the chocolate is melted, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna transfer it to this simple sandwich bag. You're just gonna fold it over a little bit, make a little cone in your hand, and we're just gonna plop chocolate right in. You just want to kind of smooth it all down into the corner. And you're just going to kind of twist it a little bit. The bottom, so it's creating a little point. Grab some scissors, and you're just going to snip a little bit off the top here. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want it to look like. Now, this is one of my favorite things about cake pops. You can really do whatever you want. There's no right or wrong answer. For these ice cream cake pops, I really like to make them kind of like gooey and fun. Like it shouldn't look perfect. It should look messy like a real ice cream cone. So really, whatever kind of design floats your boat, go for it. Have some sprinkles, sprinkle them over, and done. One of my other favorite things about cake pops and my little business in general is just the people that I get to meet. A lot of the people that I have done their wedding for, I've done their baby shower, or I've done their sister's wedding or their shower. So I really kind of feel incredibly lucky to be part of this chain of amazing, huge events in these families' lives. I think one of the things that people ask the most is, how did you get started? How did this all happen? I just had a passion and I followed it. For me, it's enjoying what I do and knowing that at the end of the day, I did the most that I could do and that I made someone happy. If I'm making an order for a wedding or for a shower or for somebody's birthday, watching their face kind of light up when they open up the box and they get to see it, it's great. And sometimes it's as simple as that. You just have to believe in yourself and make sure you do your homework, make sure that it's a viable business option, of course, but you know, really just believe in yourself, take the leap, and you can do it. All right, guys, we did it. So here's our finished cake pop, looking adorable. I hope you guys feel better, more confident that this is something that you can do in your own house. I think you can. Just have faith, you can do it. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch me make lolly cakes for you. And come by the farmer's market, look for Lolly Cake Ladies, and look for all the other great vendors. We'll be looking forward to seeing you. Bye.
If you have a case of wanderlust, then this next story is for you. Here are some do's and don'ts from a travel expert who has done her fair share of traveling.
My name is Laura Kastner. I am owner and director for Tenacious Traveler Tours and Adventures. My goal with the company was really to set up opportunities for people to really engage in the places that they visit. Travel is so important because I really think it opens your eyes to the way that other people live. It helps you to gain a better understanding of yourself, the world around you. It gives you appreciation for what you have at home. For me, over the years, it's really helped me to be able to connect with people around the world. You know, I'm very conscientious now when I go overseas, not to stand out like a tourist, to try to blend in, to try to learn the customs, the languages, and to be respectful. One of the biggest things I really recommend is once you've selected your destination and you book those tickets, read, explore the destination that you're heading to before you go. Learn about the culture, learn about the customs. Orient yourself to the city using a map before you go. You'll still use a map when you're there, but of course you don't want to have the map out in the big public squares. But really orienting yourself to a city before you go helps to cut down on that somewhat. Really be respectful of the local culture. Things are not always the same as they are here in the United States and other countries, other cultures. I always especially tell clients and my family, and remember you're a guest in someone else's country. One big tip I have, I was thinking about this, is leave your baseball caps at home. If you're going to another country, that definitely helps. Check your passport expiration date, not just to see if it's going to expire before you leave, but do you have 6 months of time left on it? Because a lot of countries, they won't even let you on the plane at the airport if you don't have that 6 months. So that's really, really important to remember. Be alert when you're traveling, knowing where you're going when you go out, have a destination, always keep a map in your pocket. Listen to the locals where you're going. They know the area better than anybody, and they know the places you should and shouldn't go, whether you can be out at night. Pay attention to them. They know which taxis to take and which taxis not to take. Don't take expensive items with you. Leave your expensive jewelry at home. Certainly you'll take a camera. A lot of people obviously just use their phones now as cameras, but again, you don't want to be in particularly busy tourist areas. You don't want to be flaunting your expensive camera or your phone. The other thing I would tell people too, when you're traveling, particularly to very busy tourist areas, you know, town squares, tourist attractions, try to keep any valuable items that you have at the front of you. I actually watched somebody be pickpocketed in Ecuador. It was like nothing I've ever seen. They just slipped right in behind her. I saw him standing right behind her, not knowing what he was doing, and the next thing you know, he was gone. And in that time, she had her camera in her pocket. He had taken her camera and just walked off with it. I tell people to book in advance. I know there's a school of thought that if you wait till the last minute, you can get those last minute travel deals, but that doesn't work with flights. You really need to leave 2 weeks at least for booking a flight to get a decent price. And a lot of the travel suppliers actually will start to run travel specials even a year ahead. So there's a lot of good deals to be had. And I know with people having busy work schedules, they may not be able to plan last minute. So I find really planning ahead will help save money. Flexibility is another one. Being able to travel during the week on weekdays, if your work schedule will allow it, is a good way to save money. Traveling during shoulder season as opposed to high peak season, which is typically the summer or school vacations, that's another way. I would say go local, stay local if you can. Small local hotels, small local markets. If you're staying at a small local hotel and you have a refrigerator, you can bring things home from the market and save that way. And the other nice thing, if you're going with small local hotels or local markets, is you're supporting the local community, which is always a good thing. Really, when you're traveling with your kids, and people who travel with kids probably already know these things, but if you're thinking about traveling with your family for the first time, kind of make sure that you know what you need before you go. Bring those snacks on for the plane. Make sure you have, if you're traveling with infants, the diapers, wipes, you know, really, I am a big fan of packing lists. Has saved me many a time. Research again before you go. Find out what there is for your kids to do. I've always tried to pick places that I know the kids will enjoy. Sometimes, you know, it's not always possible. There might be not all that many options for them, but I can almost guarantee, particularly in Europe, there's always things for kids to do. There's a lot of places also that offer free entry for kids. A lot of good kids programs when you're traveling. You know, I really do think once you travel with your kids too, I really highly recommend it. It's cheaper to travel when they're younger, and it gets them used to traveling. Because we've traveled so much, my husband and I, as a couple, I think when we had kids, it was very important to us to continue to travel and to impart that to our kids. And so, like I said, I got them passports when they were 6 months old. I love traveling. I love the opportunities that it gives me and my family now to really explore the world.
We spent the day at Nashoba Valley Winery to learn about the winemaking process.
Welcome to Nashoba Valley. So the winery started off in 1978 in Somerville, Massachusetts, where the original founder of the winery, named Jack Partridge, had a passion for making wine, but mostly from wine that he could grow in his backyard. In his backyard, he had a couple apple trees and a pear tree. He was actually a city developer, city planner for the town of Somerville. So Jack started doing winemaking in his basement. He started out in Damon Mill in Concord, Massachusetts. And at that time, they were only making wine from fruit that they could source within Massachusetts. So it was primarily apples, pears. From that, in 1984, he actually bought this farm and moved the winery operation to what was known at that time as Upland Farm, and had previously been planted with apple trees by Dr. Clemens. And so when I came, a lot of people used to always draw the difference between non-grape based wines and grape based wines, and the chemistry, everything is the same. You know, you're basically fermenting sugars. If any of you grew up in a family that made wines, my family, my grandmother used to make wine from dandelions. You can make it from anything that has convertible sugars or fermentable sugars in it. So you can make maple syrup wine, you can make, you know, a whole vast of different things. But what I wanted to do is bring the grape aspect into it, because I think it started showing people that there shouldn't be really that difference between grape making and fruit wine, non-grape based wines. So basically this is where the whole process begins. Come the fall, when we're in full production, we'll be harvesting, I don't know, somewhere around 100,000 pounds of grapes, peaches and apples. They'll be coming in here, and what you see in this room is the start of how we make or turn those whole fruits into juice, so that then we can turn them into wine. So this is more of a juice operation at this point, where we have a piece of equipment that will actually take the grapes off of the clusters and separate the grapes so that we can then process them for winemaking. We also have apple washer and pear washer that goes up to a hammer mill that actually purees those fruits so that we can then press them. And then we have two different types of presses. One is a bladder press, which is a lot more gentler process for grape making, making juice out of grapes. And then we have a apple press from Good Nature that actually is a little bit more coarser on the, or tougher on the fruit, and will turn apples and peaches and pears, cranberries into juice. So once we turn it into juice, then we are ready to really start the magic of making wine. So once the fruit is pressed, a lot of times you'll come into this room. We have 4 larger tanks in here that have variable lid capacity. So we can actually take the tops off of these tanks and do pump overs with red grape when we're making wine, red wine from grapes. We want to actually soak. We'll have the process start with the skins on. So they're going to be whole fruit going into here. With these types of fermenters, the man-way, for lack of a better word, is actually way down low, so that once we pump all the free-run juice out of here, we're going to end up with a lot of skins and everything like that. And these man-ways down low allow us to pull the solids back out and then take those solids and go into the press and press whatever remaining juice is in. But in this room right here, we have about 30,000 gallons worth of wine storage capabilities. And this is where the wines will come and generally spend a lot of their lives if they're going to be aged in stainless. They might be racked a couple times between tanks. The purpose of racking is for clarification purposes. Just like when you're at home and you have a bottle of orange juice and you have it by with the pulp, with the good stuff, the pulp all settles down to the bottom. We shake it up to get it back up. Well, in this environment, what we're doing is we're allowing all the solids to settle to the bottom, and then we're racking it off. And so in this room here, we have roughly about 140 60-gallon barrels of wine. And if you're trying to preserve the fruit forwardness of a fruit, you're kind of aging in stainless. If you're trying to oxidize and add some tannin and different flavor components, this is kind of like a spice rack when you're cooking. So we have all different types of barrels, different aging, different toast levels of barrels. And so some wines will come in here. Chardonnay might spend 8 months in here, where our Azul port wine might spend 5 years in oak barrels. So this is our bottling line, and basically one person stands there and dumps bottles onto a conveyor. The bottles then come over here and they're actually evacuated from with any air that might be in the bottle and filled with CO2. They're then filled to the top with wine. Then we have a little probe that goes in and removes just the top portion of wine. The idea being that if the wine bottle is full of wine, there's no air left in it. You know, throughout the whole process, we're trying to avoid air contact with wine. It's a good way to make vinegar rather than wine. So the bottling line is set up that it actually fills the bottle all the way to the top, and then a probe goes in, removes enough wine out of the bottle so that the cork can go in, and then transfer over to here where foil will go on, label will go on, and another person here capturing the bottle and putting them back in the cases for sales. The weather is either our best friend or our worst enemy. Farming, it's one of the reasons that we go out of business so frequently, is you can have 3 and 4 bad years. This year right now, knock on wood, it looks like a great year. The farming is a lot different than manufacturing. You don't just place a purchase order with somebody and they send you the product. You're out there, worrying about your crop in January when you're, pruning trees and getting ready for the next year. And every year you hope that the good years outweigh the bad years, and at the end you got a nickel to put in your pocket.
BCAM's very own is here to share his knowledge of car care.
Hello, I'm Jerry Comic and welcome to Car Notes. And today we're talking tires, more specifically tire pressure. So, when is the last time you checked your tire pressure? Well, we're going to do that today. Adding air is very easy. Everyone's done it before. You come out one morning, you see, wow, my tire is pretty low on air. So you drive to your local gas station, you pull up to the air compressor, you take your valve stem cover off, put the compressor on, add some air to your tire, put it back on, and you're off and driving again. Very simple, very easy. But how much air should you have added to that tire? So, how much air should you add to your tire if your tire is low? Well, every car, make and model has a specific PSI number for their tires. And PSI stands for pounds per square inch. So, every car has a specific size tire for that car and a specific PSI number. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jerry, I have no idea what the PSI number is for my tires. Well, let me tell you a little secret. In every single car, the manufacturer actually prints the PSI number for you inside the door sill here on the driver's side door. So if you open your driver's side door and look down here on the sill, you'll see a little sticker that has your size tires and the PSI numbers for the front tires and for the rear tires. So you never have to remember what your PSI number is. All you have to do is open your driver door and look down and you'll know what your PSI number is, which means that's how many pounds per square inch of pressure you should have in each of your tires. Now that you have your PSI number, now how do you know what the pressure is in each tire? Well, here you actually need one tool. A tire pressure gauge. And this will tell you exactly how much PSI you have in each tire. Now my suggestion is go and get a digital one. Some of the older ones has a little nozzle here, but then has a little pin that pulls out from the bottom that tells you what your PSI number is. But those are pretty hard to read. You can get a nice digital one that's easy to read for fairly cheap pretty much anywhere. Okay? So you're going to take your tire pressure gauge, you're going to remove your valve cap, and you're going to take your gauge, set it to PSI, and then test the pressure inside the tire. Just like that. Very simple. Now that I've tested one tire and this one's pretty much all set, I'm going to go ahead and check the other 3 tires on my car just to make sure the PSI numbers on those are all set as well. So, I just finished checking the other 3 tires and they all are pretty close to the PSI number. My PSI number for my particular car is 30 PSI and my tires were about 31 PSI. So they were a little bit high. I can now go and take a little bit of air out of each of my tires so they all equal 30 PSI. Now, you want to get your tires to as close to that number as possible, okay? If you have too much air in your tires, it doesn't help you get better gas mileage, but it could wear out the tires faster than normal. And of course, if you don't have enough air, well, everyone has tried to drive a car or even ride a bike with a flat tire. It's very difficult to do it. Your car will use more energy trying to move the car and you will lose a lot of gas mileage. So it's a good idea, maybe once a week, to just double check your air pressures in your tires just to make sure they're pretty close to the PSI number. And if not, just run somewhere and add some air to them. While you're down here checking the air pressure in your tires, you also want to take a little bit of time to maybe just kind of look over your tire. Rub your hand along the side of the tire, look around the edges, make sure there's no bumps or bruises, large scrapes or scratches on the tire. And you also want to look to see if there's anything jammed inside the tire tread. You can come here and you can check your tire and you can go, wow, my tire pressure is really low. And then come to find out you have a nail or a rock jammed into the tire and that's what's making the air leave your tire. So if you do find a nail or something like that in your tire, you may want to go to your local mechanic or go to a local tire place and see if they can patch it up for you. So, that's about it as far as checking tire pressure. It's pretty simple, right? It'll only take you about a minute or so to do. And I usually do it maybe once a week just to make sure my tires are in good working order and I also have the correct tire pressure in my car. If you're not sure of when you had your tires last replaced, you can talk to your local mechanic or refer to the owner's manual in your car. So, until next time, drive safe and take care.
If you have a story to tell, contact BCAM TV and you could be featured on the next episode. Until then, I'm Genevieve and this is Tell Your Story.